Welcome to Talk Pro to Me, the podcast where we talk about our passion, the purpose, and the paths that led us to the professional remodeling organization, Pro. We are excited you're here. I'm Sarah Waters. I'm your host. Now let's build something great. This episode is brought to you by Signovation, where brands show up and win. Welcome back. I'm excited to kick off our March podcast list with first guest of the month, Dave Lakin, co-founder and CEO of VirtuActive, 3D drafting of design. You are also the past Pro board president and current chairperson of the board. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for this.
Tell me, Dave, how long have you been with VirtuActive? You started it?
We just celebrated 10 years in January.
Kudos.
We're going to do a big anniversary party, I think, in April.
Nice.
End of April.
Are we invited?
Maybe. I was going to get on the list.
When you started off in the industry, entrepreneurial-wise, you worked in nutrition, you worked in fitness, doing, What was it? Lifetime Fitnesses?
Anytime Fitness, yep.
How did you get into VirtuActive? How did this come up?
So that was random. So one of my best friends had called me. At that time, he was a realtor. He was working for a builder.
Sure.
That builder was drawing homes at that time in 3D, which not a lot of people were doing. That was kind of his competitive edge. And they're like, man, I think we could do this. We could take this idea and do it, make something out of it.
Did you know anything about?
Dude, I knew nothing.
Even housing? You were just like, okay, whatever, I'm down.
Nothing about housing.
Right.
I didn't want to live in a house. I lived in, like I said, high rises and condos and stuff. But at that time, the builder was going to continue building, and that's Sam. And then Ryan was going to continue being his realtor and selling his homes. But they're like, and then Sam's brother is like, he could draw. He was a drafter. So he drew houses, but they didn't have anybody that ever had, could do the business development sales part or ran companies before or built companies up.
So you were brought in from that side, like more business management.
To do. And
makes sense.
And so that's how I got kind of introduced to it. And so we moved here and we have this company, and it's really it's a residential architectural firm. They're drawing the plans, but they're using it in 3D. Well, my assumption was everybody did it in 3D. I got here and then I realized, oh my gosh, all these builders are using all these drafters and they're all doing it in 2D and nobody's doing it in 3D. So
for the normal homeowner, what's the difference
mean?
between 2D and 3D? What does that mean for someone coming in?
Yeah, no, great. So if you think about old school, like blueprints, right? Like your construction documents.
Flat paper, roll out the big white roll.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 100%. And that's what we do. Right. Yeah. That's what we do ultimately. That's the most important thing that leaves our office. And to this day, there's still a ton very talented drafters, not saying they're not, and architects that will draw only in that 2D world. It's what they know. It's the software they use. Well, the software that we use, it not only just draws, say that you're drawing a wall on a line, it's building it in 3D. It's literally simultaneously building that wall at the same time. So you're flipping camera views. And so from a client experience standpoint, if you're a homeowner and you're going through that, and you're just getting early versions of the 2D stuff, like you don't know where the door and window is and half that stuff. It's like reading Japanese. So the 3D is kind of, think of it almost like an interpreter. It like allows it to put it in a world that they can understand, they can visualize, they can communicate their wants and needs better.
A consumer or contractor, whoever, can come in and they can literally pick what the finish looks like, and they're going to see that in that rendering.
You can go as deep as you want. Yep. I think the biggest piece is to understand. I would literally have even some builders. I'd had friends that they would be like, hey, I went to an architect or I went to another drafter and I've got my plans designed. Can you now do it in 3D? They never understood that those weren't separate entities. Right. They were all in the same with us. So now you paid for this over there. Now you're paying for us to do it in 3D. What do you think most of them did when they actually saw their home in 3D? They wanted to change something.
Yeah.
Now they visualize it.
Right.
Yeah. So that's part of the plans. The second part, like you said, is yes, we can get into flooring textures, colors, selections, materials, backsplash, countertop, siding, paint,
all the
lighting fixture, like you name it. Yeah, you can really dress it up as much as you want, which is great for spec builders. Because now if you're a spec builder, you can actually make the house look like the one it's going to be. And when you're going through permitting and digging the hole, you can start listing that and get that under contract faster.
Right.
Homeowners love the client experience. That's a no-brainer. And I think sometimes getting the builders on the business side to think on a more macro level, to be like, man, there's different ways I can use this to really expedite some of the things I'm doing.
But what would you say, like, for the consumer, in your experience doing thousands of projects as a firm, how many really benefit from that visual experience? How important do you think it is to offer a client a visual to see that rendering and what that finished project can really look
100%.
like? 100%. Worth the investment, right?
100%. Honestly, even builders, without question. It helps in so many areas. It helps with communicating wants and needs. It helps be in that model. And, we've seen things where you're building that plan, but be able to walk into it. Like we virtually will walk you into it. And it's like a video game. Like you're going to go around, you can see what's happening. You can make interactive changes. You can go sit on that couch, look down the hallway and be like, oh my gosh, I can kind of see into the powder bath down the hallway. Well, let's make sure that we move that 3 inches or 2 feet this way, so that now when I'm sitting here, you just see the wall. You know what I mean? Like stuff you may not know until you're in the home, because you can communicate your wants and needs so much better to the builder. Lenders have said they see us significantly reduce change orders up to 50% or more.
Yeah. So the small, like the investment to have this process put in place, because it's an investment, but they can reduce the overall cost significantly. And I think so, for example, right, and you see that in the contracting world, renovation, new build, whatever it might be, there's a difference in price, right? And so if a consumer is going out and they should quote, if they need to, 1 or 3, if they need to get adjustment, if you have $1,000 difference, or again, a double difference, there's a reason. Like, what are they paying for when they're paying for a little bit more in your experience? The
client experience, number one. Like, the biggest investment most people make is their home. The biggest financial investment. And it's not just financial, it's emotional. It's where you're raising your family, everything's happening there. Plans are usually your first expense. So you haven't spent any money yet. So and it's less than 1% of the price of your home typically. You're gonna pay for the plans 3 times over just on change orders. I'll see builders that are like, they think that Bob and Sally, their clients, have the greatest client experience ever. And let's say they didn't use 3D. And because they're just using the drafter that they've used forever, and they get done with the plans. Well, there's always some type of friction. And then what do most homeowners do when their house is complete?
Show it off.
Oh, how was it? How was the build experience? Oh my God, I don't know. I would never use that builder again. It was terrible. Like that. But the builder, if you ask them, would be like, oh, it was great. Like I've seen that disconnect. And to be able to allow less of that friction to happen because you're doing that in the design process versus in the field where it's really costing money, and you can pull that forward in the design process, it helps not only the client experience, it's going to help save money, but it helps the client experience later for both the builder and the homeowner. And what do you want at the end of that? You want them raving about you.
In the construction world, and just, you've been super involved in Pro, other associations. What has been the benefit? Why do you think that's important for others that are listening or looking at joining an association or some type of networking group? What has been key for you in your business getting involved in associations?
Probably 3 things. I think one, and this is probably to each individual, I think it's your own personal and professional growth. Where are you on that journey for yourself? And is there an opportunity there to challenge yourself, to learn from other peers, and or to, I think as you have successes, and I'm getting older, you have, I think, a responsibility to serve others and teach them some of the things you learn. So I think that's part of it. Above all, it's business development. I think that people do business with people they like and they trust. They know, like, and trust, and it's relationships. And it allows you to expand your relationships. Maybe you can be of service to that other person in the organization. Maybe you can't, but maybe somebody else that you can help with that person. And then I think the third piece is, I think we're all called to serve, and that's my own opinion. I think that we've all been called to serve in one way, shape, or form, and that's an opportunity to serve. But I think it also, you've said this to me before, I probably sometimes don't understand and know the credibility and exposure it gives myself and or my business by being involved, not only in the organization, but by sponsoring things within the organization, the leadership, taking on leadership roles, which is a time commitment. I joke about that sometimes, but the truth is, like, I probably don't even realize the exposure it gives me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for us,
credibility,
somewhat small investment, and sometimes, right? Like, but you can put 5,000 into something and a billboard or whatever, and maybe 100 people see it, maybe 10,000, we don't know. But we can say, like, okay, for a small investment, you might have 50,000 eyes on it on socials through Pro, whatever it might be.
Right.
So I think having that for you guys is helpful when we have those conversations.
I think the socials, I think it's even the events. You know what I mean? Like you're at the event and people see that you're investing in the event. And then, but there's a lot that can come out of the organizations. It's not just writing the membership check. You know what I mean?
I think that's what's really, I think people need to understand about networking in general, or associations or whatever memberships. It is not just an exchange of a check of business, right? Your business isn't growing because I gave you a check for a service. It really is. And I think you kind of touched on that. It's building relationships of trust and referrals that lead into business growth. I think too many people come in with that misconception. I'm going to give you a check, and that means I was successful in that exchange. But that check may have been, $100 commitment. But in business, maybe I sat down with you and we chat about something, and I've learned now $10,000 how to generate that 10,000 over a year. And it's so much more valuable. And I think you kind of touched on that, like, building relationships really does lead into that growth. And 100%. It's not a tangible exchange. And I think people forget that. They forget it is more than just an exchange of cash to each other.
Yeah. We've said this before. Whatever you put into something, you're typically you're going to get out of it. Right. But like writing a $500 check or a $400 check to join an association for a year, that's nothing. Like that's the easy part.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Now the journey begins. Now you've got to put yourself out there. Now you've got to get involved. You've got to get engaged. You've got to do the different things to make that membership, that money that you did work for. And guess what that is? It's your time. It's your time, and it's your energy, and it's your effort, and it's getting involved. And the more involved you get, the more relationships you're going to create. The more relationships you create, the more opportunities you're going to have in front of you. What is the Kevin Bacon 6
degrees of
6 degrees of
separation.
Kevin Bacon. It's the same thing in networking. Like it might be that person that's 4 or 5 or 6 degrees away from them that's doing a design with us down the road, because I've built that relationship. That person trusts me. That person trusts me. It's just how it works. And you, if you're getting into it for immediate gratification, like, oh, I wrote my check and why isn't anybody giving me something in 3 months? Like you're going to get in for the wrong reason. You're going to fail. You're going to be very disappointed.
Yeah. I think a fun example of the 6 degrees, and I think of that, is because so I went to a very small community, 500 person town, but your wife and I are both from the same area, played high school sports against each other. Yeah. And now here you are, she's your wife. We've circled back. Now I've met her through you. She has a small business, and now I support that business when I need product and cute outfits. She's my go-to. It just goes to show, like, you may not know I'm buying things from her. Well, maybe you don't, or you do, but had I not connected, and like, I wouldn't know.
And then who do you know that?
And then I'm referring.
Doing something. It's just how it works.
And so it's cool that you do all the time. You see that circle. But people don't always realize, like, this to this to that. Like sometimes we'll partner people up and we'll say, okay, maybe you sell insurance and you sell whatever, you sell accounting materials. You may not need each other, but you might have clients that need each other. And so you start to partner, and you got to get a little more creative. And
you become that trusted resource. Now all of a sudden I did this, and they're like, oh, wow, I'm going to go to this person. It just becomes more. It's not transactional. It's relational. It really is.
And so your background, you have a lot of business management experience. You and I mean, you've been a great mentor for myself. That's how we become good friends, get to know each other. You've put a lot of time and energy in. Why do you put that in? Why help others? It's more time. It's time. Sometimes you're like, oh, that's so much time, but why put that time in to help someone like myself or others that are like, how are you doing this?
That's a good question. Honestly, you question it sometimes. I'm like, is this the best place I should put my energy? I just mean in general.
No, I get it.
Like at the end of the day, like, where I want to, the most important things in my life are obviously my family, my friendships, my business. That's where my time should be spent. I think rightfully so, a lot of people do that. I think when you go through your journey, whatever your journey is, personally or professionally, most people can look back and say there are certain people that helped you on your journey. There are certain people that shaped you in a positive manner. But I think I think we're all called to serve, and I had people that poured into me, and I think part of my responsibility is to pour back into others.
So you and I, both on the business side, we both use business coaches. Probably one of the best thing I did was invest in that. What is one of the biggest key takeaways you feel as business leaders? What do they need to be doing in order to continue to grow?
I think that being a business owner, you put this hat on, and I think there's more often than not false bravado that you know everything and you make all the right decisions. I think that the moment that you can be vulnerable, the moment you can say I screwed up, the moment that you can ask for help, the moment that you can say there's a better way to do things. And I think the quicker that you can continue to move and pivot and move and pivot and move and pivot. And this is actually one of our core values of the company is it's not ready, aim, fire. It's ready, fire, aim, and the meaning of that is you take the information you have. It may not all be complete. That's fine. You take the information you have, you make the best as you can, you make a decision, you fire, and then you continue to adjust and pivot it.
And I think the thing we talk about a lot one-on-one is just, like I said, I'm new to growing this organization with staff, and that's been a goal, but having staff and managing staff is different. And that's something I want to learn and continue. You've had a lot of staff. You guys have grown your organization significantly. Do you think there's just one key factor that motivates? Is it always money or?
No, and any study you read will tell you that. Like most employers think the number one motivating thing for their employees is money. But employees want to know they feel valued. They want to know the work they does matter. Those are some of the ones that show up at the top. The culture of the company matters. But really just recognition sometimes is a high one on that.
Sure.
And so it's kind of interesting when you see those studies. Most employees, they want to know what the expectations of them are. Like they want to know. How do I know if I'm doing a good job if I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing? So I think understanding what those are, communicating those expectations, everybody holding each other accountable to those expectations, allows everybody to be on the same page. Another big piece in owning a business as you grow is letting go of the control freak that a lot of us can be. Is you've got to now put trust out there that somebody, and sometimes that's hard because sometimes you've got to put the trust out there and let people fail and go through those themselves, and same things you probably did a long time ago, but now you're better at, but you've got to let them fail. And that sucks because you're like, I look at them like, dang it, that just cost us money. That cost us a deal.
Or your name's behind it.
Yeah, your name's behind it, but you're like, but it's kind of the only way is almost that one step backwards, two steps forwards is let them fail. It's like, gosh, it's like your kids. Sometimes they've got to touch the hot stove. You told them not to, and it's gonna be hot. Like, but that's when they'll open themselves up to more learning too. You know what I mean? So, sometimes you just got to practically do it. But I think really delegating and trust. You've mentioned a lot, vulnerability is really important. And I've heard, is it true that you cry during American Idol? I don't know what you're talking about. I do cry during American Idol. I'll own that. Are you a pusher, aren't you? Yeah. You say I'm a pusher. I'm a pusher? You are, yes. You got to admit it. You're kind of a pusher. You've pushed me into tears many a time. Yeah. So. I've challenged you. Oh, you prefer challenger. Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes is Michelangelo said, like, I'm going to get this wrong now because I just talked about this last week. Wait, the painter or the turtle? The painter. He said the greatest danger in most of us is not that we set our goals too high and not reach it, but that's that we set them too low and we do achieve it. I'm a big believer in that. I think like, it's really easy to get complacent. It's really easy to say, I just want to get to here and look, I made it. I succeeded at this, whatever that might be. The people that when you set your goals crazy high, dreamer goals, if you will. And I think that's an entrepreneur mindset. You dream and you set them really high and you just keep plugging away and plugging away and plugging away. And truthfully, you may never reach it. I'd much rather live a life that way than just kind of setting my goal low and made it. And I feel like that's more complacent. Vince Lombardi said he was always about the relentless pursuit for perfection. Is what he told his team. But he said, but we will never be perfect. But in trying on our journey of our pursuit to perfection, we'll achieve greatness. You're never probably going to reach it if you're really setting it way out there. But damn, the things you're going to accomplish along the way will be pretty damn cool. Very cool. And to remember the small things, right? It takes a lot to get to the bed. Smallest little things are a win. And celebrate those. Yeah, for sure. I know that you're a big golfer and a big hunter. Yep. But you can only pick one. Which one are we picking for the rest of your life? You can only do one. I can't pick. You have to. You got to. What is that? I'm gonna put the shotgun in my golf bag. I don't know. That would be safe. I don't think I could. That's hard. They're so different. They're so different. And honestly, living in Nebraska, Midwest, I get golf during the warm months, and I get hunting during the cold months. This debate is who's a better golfer, you or Matt Craddock? That's not really a debate, right? Well, before he hurt his arm 5 times. That's me by far. And you and Patrick. That's not even close. Patrick McNamara. Patrick's not even on. Patrick just thinks he's a good golfer. I have to take a separate cart when I'm with Patrick. He has to ride in his own cart. Like you're embarrassed to be with him? I love him to death, but yeah. You know what I love? I love to live in Patrick's world because he's never hit a bad shot in his life. Never. He's the happiest guy. Yep. He's always, we'll play in a scramble and we'll never use his shots, but boy, when it's done, he's the one that carried the team. Okay. And what I think a lot of people are wondering is why such a big truck? I don't know. How does Katie get in it? I know. And so this is a true story. I went and bought it, or before I bought it, I went by the next day and I had to drive it to the house to make sure it would fit in the garage. It barely fit like in the garage, like when I went in. So I'm like, oh, it fit. I guess I can get it now. If you had to pick a walk-up song for yourself, what would it be? I love the song Winning It All by the Outfield. Never heard of it. Yeah, it's a good song. I pictured you like Top Gun or something. Danger Zone, maybe. And we'll wrap it up with year-end goals. What's your goal for 2026? The personal goals are, and I'm off to a good start. I've been a piece of junk when it came to just my health and fitness in general the last couple of years. So that's crazy because you owned fitness. Yeah, companies. I did. Yeah, I haven't. And I don't know, I'm sure everybody can relate. You start getting lazy and you start making bad decisions. It's easy just to kind of keep making those. Yeah. So this year, that's been a big push for me. Honestly, just getting back in the routine of that. I think personally that, and then one thing I always want to be is more present with my family. When I'm home, not just jumping on a phone or it's hard to shut off work, right? It's hard, when it is, especially in a business, you're never off. Bad about it. I mean? And then professionally, that's a really good question. We're kind of in this, we started this new division, so that sells more nationally to builders. So it's really about what is that? Is that something that we're going to make successful or not? What does that
Sure.
look like? And then I think also like we do, I think, a pretty good job with client experience and our team and stuff like that. But I think just as a business, we could run our business a little leaner, a little more profitable. Yeah. My mentor, Eddie Gangawala, he always said, Dave, run your business like this. And when those highs come, store that away, but run your business like this. Don't ever run your business, your life, like it's at the highs of what you're doing. Because that's how you're going to fail. He goes, just always run at this. And so I think sometimes it's easy to celebrate your successes a little bit too much and lean into those and think that's just going to be the way.
Yeah, I think that's where those key process indicators, KPIs, are really important. So you do have to learn to, again, just how do you function either up or down?
Right.
But I think the more you know your business, you can evaluate, is that a norm for us? Is this trend or is it not? And so I think,
and where's your floor, and make sure you're managing your floor to be healthy for you and your team and your clients and everything else. And,
well, Dave, it has been a pleasure. We've learned a lot about you and VirtuActive. So
I appreciate having me on.
Much. Yeah, it was fun.
I didn't know how this was going to go.
All right.
You're always easy to talk to. I love it.
I love it. I appreciate all your time too. It's been awesome. This episode is brought to you by Signovation, where brands show up and win.